Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I'm your host, Rob Z. Always bringing incredible guests on here with powerful stories of breakthrough. Today, we have Frank Agin with us on the podcast. We're talking about referrals today for your business, the networking mindset that you need to have, building trust in relationships, always giving first, and how to avoid those networking pitfalls that a lot of people fall into. This is going to be a really fun conversation for anybody who is in business and wants to grow their business. This is a very important topic because, man, I think when you own a business, like we just said before you started, Frank, you throw a billboard up there and you expect people just to start flooding in, and that's not the way that it works. It's building relationships. So I want to start things off with one powerful question right off the bat. What is a small shift that a business owner or somebody working for a company who's trying to elevate themselves in that company could make today to make themselves more referable to other business owners or to other people?
Well, I think the simple answer is they need to find ways to contribute to others, to commit to others. As humans, we're hardwired to help those people who are not just helping us, but just helping the greater good. And we're always looking for those things. And it's rooted in our human evolution, our development. And I see the people out there who are the most successful at getting referrals are the people who are the most committed to not necessarily always giving other people referrals, but finding ways to help people somehow, some way. And when those things happen, it really just, it trips something in their mind where those people are like, oh, this person's a giver. I need to align them with me. And to do that, I need to find out ways to refer them and help them.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And so just like a small example, I guess for you personally, I love talking practical things, something that you do on a daily basis to always make sure you're helping other people.
Yeah. And I know we'll touch on this in the end about the book, The Giving Journal, and how I came about to write that. But I've adopted a mindset where whenever I'm talking to people, like I'm writing notes here, Rob, I'm like, okay, how can I help Rob? Right now, I appreciate being on here. Thank you. That's a gift to me. I do appreciate that. And I will promote that out. I think that's part of the deal. But above and beyond that, even if we're just meeting for the first time, I have, as humans, we're self-preservation. Okay, what can I get? What can I get? What can I get? What I've tried to do is just develop the mindset of, okay, what can I give first? How can I help this person? Who does Rob need to know that can help Rob? Or who can I introduce Rob to that Rob can help? Mm-hmm. And if you discipline yourself to do those things, you'll always come up with an answer. Mm-hmm. And it becomes easier and easier in time because you have people coming to you and, lots of people, and it may not be anything earth shattering. Hey, Rob, here's a winning lottery ticket. I mean, I'm not talking those things, but, okay, who are you looking to meet? Maybe I should have you on my podcast. Those are, what are the things? We all have things to give if we're honest with ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the best things for me that's helped with that is making a list, right? I talk to somebody, I write down information about them. So I keep a catalog of like, here's people that I know, here's what they do. When you talk to somebody now, it's like you wrote it down, so it should be better. It should be fresher in your head, easier to remember. But also you start to build this catalog of people who can all be connected to one another. And You never know. I mean, honestly, man, you never know. Just being kind, connecting people together is one thing. You never know what's going to come from that. You could never guess the relationships that could be built, the money that could be made, the businesses that could be grown, the people that could be helped just by a simple connection.
Yeah. Oh, to me, it's fascinating. I just got an email this morning from a woman over in Croatia. I introduced her to a guy in England. It's just, hey, you two should meet. You're kind of in the same space.
Yeah.
They got married a year ago yesterday.
Oh, look at that. Okay. So now you're, now
you're
a matchmaker.
Yeah, that wasn't my intent. I just like, hey, you guys could probably do business together. I didn't know they were going to fall in love. I mean, they're in roughly the same time zone, but however many countries away. And it's like, hey, they hit it off and they were dating for a couple of years. And a year ago, they've, finally got married. And so you don't know. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people engage in. They want to know the outcome before they will make an introduction. Well, I don't know if this will be good for Rob. Well, hell, you don't know, right? It could be, it might not be for you, but it might be for, someone
Mm-hmm.
or people, they want to know the outcome. Why would I want to meet Brad? What's so great about Brad? It's like, well, Brad runs the chamber. I mean, he just knows tons of people. No, he's not going to be your client, but he knows lots of people who could be your client, or people who know people who could be your client. So you just, we kind of get into this very tunnel vision, not all of us, but a lot of people, this tunnel vision about, okay, what's the outcome here? I only have 24 hours in a day. And I found that over time, a lot of the things that I have thought would be like, wow, this is going to be a game changer, really did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the connections that I've run into out there that have been kind of like, oh, well, let's see where this goes, where it's like, oh my God, this is a game changer. I never expected it.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. And you can't really predict how it's going to play out. And you have to balance time out. So I really want to get into that too, because you only have 24 hours in a day. You can't meet everybody for an hour at a time. Like, how do you expedite that process? How do you get more value out of that process? Let's dive into all that. Before we go any further, I just want to welcome everybody here. I created the Unstuck movement because I've been stuck at various places in my life and my business. And I know everybody else has also probably stuck somewhere right now. And we need breakthrough in our lives. So I love bringing people on who have created breakthrough for their business, for their lives. And I want to pass that on to you. And today we're talking about breakthrough personally and professionally. And we're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. So if you're somebody who wants to meet incredible entrepreneurs who are all connected from all over the world and help each other grow, make sure you check out the connectedleadersacademy.com, and also the Pro Podcaster Academy. That is somebody, maybe you want to launch a podcast, you've been thinking about it for a long time, but you're not sure all the nuts and bolts and how to make it right. I love to help people launch their platform, create a lasting impact in people's lives, and also you build incredible personal and professional connections and become the go-to authority in your space. If you already have a podcast, how do you streamline it, make it smoother, make it run faster, more efficiently, and how do you monetize it? I'd love to help you with that at robzwentz.com. Frank Agin with us today helps professionals unlock success by building meaningful relationships that lead to referrals and opportunities through his own person. He founded and created AmSpirit Business Connections, his podcast, Networking RX, and his many books. He equips entrepreneurs and leaders with practical tools for authentic networking. So, Frank, how do you do that? You don't have all the time in the world, right? We all have a limited amount, and time is the only thing we can't get back. We want to use it effectively, use it efficiently. How do you build meaningful, lasting relationships and not burn yourself out and spend all of your time doing it?
Well, I mean, I don't talk with everybody. I mean, it really kind of takes care of itself. I think, if like I'll go out and I'll give a speech and I'll say, hey, everybody connect with me on LinkedIn. So and this happened years ago. There's 500 people. Hey, if you're here, connect with me on LinkedIn. I maybe had 2 people connect with me on LinkedIn. Right. To me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be just inundated with people connecting with me on LinkedIn. My point is that not everybody is willing to do the work. So when I say, hey, I'm happy to talk to people, I'm happy to help people, a lot of people don't necessarily do that.
Very true.
I'll do a 15-minute get acquainted call. I don't do coffees. People say, hey, can we get together for coffee? It's like, I don't have 90 minutes to, no, not 90 minutes, 30 minutes. No, it's 90 minutes by the time we get in the car, get where we're going. Right. Gonna get back in the groove. It's 90 minutes. So let's have a conversation. And what I tell people, I'm not being mean about it. I'm just trying to be efficient about it, because a lot of times in 15 minutes, I'll know other people to connect you with. Mm-hmm. I'm not the guy necessarily, but I know people who you're looking for a job. Hey, this person is great at resume writing. Jason Zagadlo, who we both know, he's great at kind of strategy. So I'll just, we just saved a lot of time and I can kind of move you along. So you have to be careful with respect to your time. And I think most people are understanding of that.
Oh, for sure. You have to frame it that way, right?
Yeah.
Up front. Like it's not a surprise. Hey, this is a business call. I want to help you, but also we both have lives and businesses and a limited amount of time. So
Yep.
in those 15 minutes, how do you make those 15? And this is really important actually, because I know a lot of people, like you said, let's get together for coffee. 30 minutes turns into an hour. You might really connect with the person. You might not have time that day, but now you're going overtime. You're messing your whole schedule up, whatever it might be. How do you efficiently, like on a Zoom call in 15 minutes, learn somebody well, they get to understand you well, and you can make those connections? There's certain things you should be asking or looking for.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is that you need to invest a little time on the front end, and just I'll look at somebody's profile. I have a call later today with the guy I spoke with last week, and it was like, okay, this is great, let's reschedule. But he's living in Toledo, Ohio, which is but he was a professor. He was in Hawaii. He was all over. He was in really neat places anywhere but Toledo, Ohio. And it's like, okay, tell me the story. I want to know the story. And I always find that's a great jumping off place for me. And the stories are usually only a few minutes long, but that tells me a lot about the person. And I find that I develop an affinity towards people once I kind of know their story. I am here because of family. Oh, well, that's really neat. You could be a lot of places, but you're here because of family and taking care of relatives and things like that. That tells me a lot about somebody. And then I want to know about them professionally and what they're looking for. And I always tell people there's 3 reasons you don't get referrals. 1, you don't have a relationship. The second reason is, and this is the big thing, is that you don't get referrals because you've done a poor job of educating people on what they should be looking for. And so when I get on calls with people, I'll talk about that and I'll press them. Again, I'm not being mean, but when you say I'll just make up something, things that have been said to me. Well, I'm a coach consultant that helps people who want to get massive gains from a holistic approach. That doesn't tell me anything, right?
Yeah.
I get it. You probably spent a lot of time, maybe some money coming up with that little, it sounds cool, rolls off your tongue, but it doesn't tell me. And so I try to get them to really think about that. And sometimes it's sending them away and say, why don't you come back and really think about it, or tell me a story about somebody you're working with. Mm-hmm. It's like you working with people who are podcasting. You know what? I talk to a lot of people who, I'm looking to get on podcasts. Well, that's great. I think you're better served if you have a podcast. Well, that's just a lot of work. It's really not. I mean, there are people out there that can help you work through it, but then you have control of who's coming on, and then they're sharing you out rather than you getting on their show and hoping that they share you out. If you understand, so I run into people like that. But with you explaining that about your business, now it's like, okay, I got notes here, right?
Yeah.
Who can I help him with? Who are the people? I don't know if that's a guarantee, but it's not a guarantee, but I tell you what's a guarantee. If I don't know, nothing will happen.
Very true.
Guarantee.
Yes. Yeah. The guarantee, if you don't know, nothing will happen. The more you do know. And also, man, it's all the time. And when you get into a connections mindset and connecting people together, when you're talking to somebody, you'll hear something they say and you're like, oh, I know somebody for that. I know a person that would be great for you to talk to. And like you said, I don't know if anything's going to come out of it. I can't predict that. I can't control that. But hey, you'd have a great time. You'd be you get value, and the other person's going to get value with you two connecting. I always look at the win-win. You guys, is there going to be more than one win in this situation?
Yeah.
Is there going to be synergy? Are you going to get along with this person? Are you going to be able to have a good fluid conversation, that sort of thing? It's extremely important, not just personally, but professionally, and not just professionally, but personally, right?
Yeah.
We got to think about it that way first. So you mentioned story. What is your story as to why did you start AmSpirit? What is it? What was it about you and how your life was? You're like, man, I love connecting people together. This is very powerful. I have to teach other people how to do that. How did you end up at that point?
Well, I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm not from here. I moved here 41 years ago to go to law school. And I never thought I would stay, but there's a whole nother story there. It involves 3 women, right? Only one I married. But at any rate, but I came here to go to law school. I got a law degree. I got an MBA from Ohio State, and I started my career in public accounting. I was a tax consultant, which was a great job. It was great pay. It was great everything. Glass building, corner office, blah, blah, blah. Great if you love to do taxes. Rob, I didn't love to do taxes. It was okay. It was a paycheck, right? So I decided to leave after about 6 years of, really good work there. I did well. I decided to leave and go into private practice. And I tell people that a funny thing happened to me when I went into private practice. And the funny thing was nothing happened. I had no idea how to get clients. They don't teach you that in school. They don't teach you that at the big firm. The clients are already there. You just come in and work. And so I struggled trying to figure it all out. And I was an attorney in private practice. It's complicated for attorneys because at least in the state of Ohio, you're not allowed to call people. Advertising, there was no advertising back then. I can't pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Rob, I want to be your attorney." You can't do that. So how are you supposed to get business? This is 1995. There's no LinkedIn. There's just not a lot of anything. Somebody said, "Why don't you get into a tips club or a leads group?" Now, many people are familiar with BNI. It wasn't BNI, but it was an organization based out of Pittsburgh. And I got invited through a couple of introductions. I got invited to a meeting. And the way it works is there's one person in each category. So I was the only attorney in the room, and everybody learns about each other and exchange referrals. We're starting a brand new group, and they needed an attorney. Well, it made total sense to me that I could lift my whole world up, helping other people and trusting they would do the same for me. And it's not perfect, but it's reasonably reliable. And so I really got involved in that. And it makes sense because for most people, it's hard to self-promote, but it's easy to talk about somebody else, right? We mentioned Jason Zagato. I love Jason. Just talked to him on Friday. We have a lot of fun talking, some business, some personal. He's a good guy. He's really going to go places. Okay. I wouldn't say that about myself. So anyhow, I got into this organization and things worked really, really well. Long story short, I had an opportunity to buy it in the early 2000s. The woman who had started it, she was kind of looking to downsize somewhat. She passed away 15 years ago now. So we executed a buyout. I had to change the name to Network. I had to change the name from Network Professionals to something else. I came up with AmSpirit Business Connections because it's a name that I had come up with in law school and had trademarked. So I had the name. But in that moment in 2003, I just made a decision that I was going to stop practicing law. There's lots of attorneys out there. We don't need another attorney. There are thousands graduating every year. We don't need another one. So there's no great loss there. But I wanted to be a student of networking. I wanted to understand why networking works for some and why it doesn't work. I wanted to understand how people could develop professional relationships. I've really dug into the science of, what's going on in the brain when we're having conversations with people. When you start to understand those things, then you can start to do different things to create relationships with people, total strangers. And I wanted to understand why people get referrals and why people don't get referrals. And so that led me down the path. And I started to franchise the organization. What we do is we bring together entrepreneurs, sales reps, professionals into a weekly meeting. These are 98% of our groups are in person because that's what our people want. I'm sure it's different for other people, but our people are clamoring for in person. And it's just what we're good at, right? McDonald's is good at McDonald's and Applebee's is good at Applebee's, and they're different, right? But our thing is in person. And we have a structured format that we have a lot of fun with, groups have a lot of fun with, but it promotes the exchange of referrals. We really lean into helping the members understand, what, if you give a crappy commercial, you're not going to get anything, or you'll get crappy referrals. And so we really dig into those sorts of things. And that's the story. I've written a number of books, have a podcast that's 857 episodes deep. Probably be 860 by the end of the week. I mean, I talk to people and trying to help people become more successful. It's not easy in business. It's not.
Yeah, and usually you got to hear the same thing about 4,000 times before you start to apply it, depending on your personality type, right? So it's like, I can recall many years ago when I was just getting into personal development and I was listening to Tony Robbins, and he was talking about, if you want your business to grow, you've got to give value to people. And this is how backwards I was. I was like, give value. Why would I have to give somebody value for my business to grow?
Yeah.
That's where my head was at. And looking back on that, I'm like, you idiot. Obviously, people have to have value in what you do if they're going to give you money for something. It's not about you, it's about them. And honestly, it's very, when I think about that, I'm like, it's a red flag. Like, holy cow, Rob, you were so off base. And so it makes me think how many other business owners are like that, off base. It's always, what am I going to get out of this? And never having enough and always trying to get and not give. And giving is the easiest thing you can do. You can always give. You can't always give, but it's always easy to help somebody, connect people, bring people together, build relationships. That's something you can do all day long. And when it becomes a part of what you do, it's not like an extra thing you have to do anymore. It's how you conduct business, which should also be how you conduct life. You should want to bring people together and connect them. And it's always going to benefit you if you're doing that from the right place. So real quick, I want to pause, shout out the sponsor of the show. When we come back, though, I want to get more in depth about this because there's probably business owners right now watching this or listening to this who are struggling to get more leads. They are advertising a lot, but they're not spending their time making those relationships strong. So what do we have to do to become very referable? What do we have to do to be the person that people are like, man, I love bringing people to you because of what you do, because of how you do what you do? And I'm really curious on your insight in that. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Frank, loving this conversation. It's so important to understand the components of bringing people together. Do you use the word networking? Is that the word you like to use? Because some people they don't like that word because it seems fake. I've heard that from a lot of people. Networking seems like something that is not sincere. Is that the word you use, or is there a different word you use?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'll use the word networking, and I do. It's really about building relationships, but networking is a convenient verb to use. And I know people have an aversion to it, and that's their experience. I mean, it's you're in Central PA. Are you a Steelers fan?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so you're a Steelers fan, and so some people will say, "Oh, Pittsburgh Steelers," and you're like, "Yeah." And other people who are Browns fans are like, "Oh, that sucks," right? That's so beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? And so somebody who's had a horrible experience with somebody, pounding on their door or being at a networking event, they will have a bad taste in their mouth about networking. I don't like that either. but it's just kind of the same word, and different people see it different ways.
Very true. That was just off the top of my head. I wanted to ask you that because I know some people call it different things, but at the end of the day, you're networking, bringing people together, and making that a priority in your business. There's not another word for it, and it's super important. So, where are you've worked with tons of business owners and people in business, I'm sure, who are trying to get leads, trying to get referrals. What are the biggest things you see people doing wrong? Where are they really missing the mark on this?
Yeah, I just released a book earlier this year called The 3 Reasons People Don't Get Referrals. And I'll just quickly race through those. The first is they don't have a relationship, right? During COVID, I'm getting people contacting me 7 states away, wanting to be my financial advisor. They could have been the best financial advisor in the world. I don't know you, right? I don't have a relationship with you. And then there are people that we know, and, they do stupid things. They're always late. They don't follow through. And, so it's know, like, and trust, right? So that's a big thing. You need to take the time to develop relationships if you want to get referrals. And in time, we generally figure that out. The second reason people don't get referrals is they do a poor job of educating people on how to recognize opportunities. Yeah, I know you're a realtor, but when are you a realtor? When people want to buy and sell houses, I get that. But when are people wanting to buy and sell houses? Oh, when maybe they're moving mom into a home. Maybe when they're wanting to get into a good school district. Maybe when they're just sick of the big yard, So there's lots of what I call whens, right? Don't tell me what you do. Tell me when you do it. So where I see people tripping up is they have these commercials. They have these ways of talking about themselves, and we talked about it earlier, that are very flowery and it makes them sound really, really smart and important, but nobody knows what that means and how to refer them. And so that's a big thing that we battle within our organization. The third reason,
really good point. I want to stop there for 1 second. It's a really good point, by the way, especially in the coaching space. You feel like you have to have this like clever, super like, wow, that just sounds, it sounds so ridiculous. When you first get into it, you're like, boy, I got to have a cool tagline like that to tell people exactly I'm a spiritual embodiment coach who helps people, It's just like these, honestly, stupid in my opinion. It becomes ridiculous at some point in time, and it might sound fancy, but it doesn't do anything for anybody. And the hard part is you might have spent tons of time, and like you said, you might have spent a bunch of money coming up with that name, but it doesn't serve you at all. Yeah. And so helping people change that, flip that mindset of like, it doesn't matter what I say that I do, how am I actually helping people?
Yeah. Well, I tell people that within 30 seconds, you could tell a quick little story about, hey, I'm a holistic coach. Let me give you an example of what I do. The other day I was working with somebody, they're working 80 hours a week. I sat and over a series of, 6 sessions, we really mapped out where they, the things that they could delegate, the things they could just stop doing. And now they're checking out of the office at 5:00 every day. Okay. I get it. That's 30 seconds right there. And you can always add on to that. There are other things I do, but that's an example of one of the things I do. And all of a sudden, then they start to get an idea as to what, a holistic coach does, right? Even when I was an attorney, it's like, well, I'm a business attorney. Well, people don't know what that means. I do. I went to law school, right? I studied for the bar. I practice law. I know. But I need to stop and educate other people as to what it means. Hey, if you know somebody who's going to be leasing commercial office space, there's a lease that's about 1 inch thick, and the only 2 people that know what it says is the person who wrote it and me, right? I'm a good person to look at I'm not the only person, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not an attorney, so that's what I do. So that's the second thing, is really getting people to understand, and it takes a lot of work. It's a constant thing to just getting people to understand, okay, there's a different way. And I see people who are really successful, they're working on it all the time. They always have a new commercial, a new something to say. I always tell people, don't have a great 30-second commercial. Don't have one great 30-second commercial. I want you to have 40 or 50 mediocre ones that really explain in common terms what you do, or when you do it, I should say. And then the third reason why people don't get referrals is they do a great job of educating people and what to look for, which resides in somebody's head, right? So you're telling me, hey, I help people with podcasts. If you see somebody who should have a podcast or has a podcast and needs help, think of me. Great. If I see somebody, oh, they're great for Rob. I need to move that to my mouth now and say, you know what? You're talking about having a podcast, and I hear you disparaging all the work that goes into it. I think you need to talk to Rob Z.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's less work than you think, and it will really elevate your business. So the third thing is empowering people with the language that they can talk to others about you when you're not there. So those are the three things. And it's usually that middle thing. People really struggle because they want to sound really smart. That was me as an attorney. I want to sound really smart. Well, you can sound smart. You just can't get referrals. You can't do both, right? So you want to be smart or you want to get referrals. You decide.
Great point. That's very true. And you mentioned about the commercial part of it. If you're in AmSpirit or you're in a BNI, you probably know what commercials are. Somebody who's not familiar with those or any of those organizations, what does it mean to have a commercial?
Well, when you go to a networking event, somebody says, hey, what do you do? What are you about? That's really, that's essentially what's happening in the AmSpirit, the BNI world. At the end of the meeting, we're going around and people are saying, well, good referral for me is if you know somebody with terminal cancer, we have a program where, we can help get them insurance. I won't get into all the nuance. There's a way we can help them. And so that's the health insurance person would say that, like, oh, okay. I know somebody who just, has terminal cancer. And so that's, a commercial or you're at a chamber event and somebody comes up to you and says, well, what are you about? It's great getting to know you. It's awesome that you ski. How do you pay for that? Well, I'm a health insurance person, I'm an attorney. And that's when you launch into, just a quick little 30-second commercial. The problem, Rob, is that everybody feels like they need to have that thing, that statement that is almost like a Jedi mind trick. If you're familiar with the Star Wars, it's almost like, okay, I'm going to say my thing and they're automatically going to do business with me. Right. It doesn't work that way, so you want to be able to say things where they kind of lean in and so tell me more, wow, that's really neat.
Yeah. And so what do you say to somebody who hates promoting themselves? They don't like to talk about what they do. It's not something that comes naturally to them. I've heard this a billion times. I don't want to brag. I don't want to feel like I'm bragging. How do you talk about what you do without feeling like you're bragging to somebody else or self-promoting yourself? Because I get surprised by people who are they really have a hard time coming over that hurdle. I don't want to be pushy with what I'm doing, but I want to build my business. You kind of have to find a balance there. What is your suggestion in that situation?
Well, it really comes down to small talk. And like when you're at functions and people, I always tell people it's not about what you have to say. It's about you getting them to say and you getting them to talk about their business. Because if you do, they will turn the tables because we're just hardwired to reciprocate. Not everybody. There's a few out there that aren't. But for the most part, people are like, oh, thanks for learning about me. Rob, tell me about you. And you get that story. And then once they've come back at you and said, tell me about you, you're not pitching yourself. You're answering their question. And you need to be comfortable while I'm answering the question and how you need to, it becomes pitchy it's an attitude, right? It becomes pitchy in your heart when you're trying to close them. And so take that off the table, right? I'm not trying to close this person. I'm just trying to educate them so they can recognize things for me because they probably know somebody. Now, if it turns out it's them, great, but I'm really not trying to sell them on what it is that I'm doing. So it's really kind of a mindset. You're not asking somebody to prom. You're just talking about your business and why you're passionate about it. And the reality is this. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's enough people out there to do business with you. So it's, you're not at that networking function to find your client. Mm-hmm. You're at that networking function, whether it's a chamber event or an AmSpirit meeting or a BNI meeting. You're at you're at those functions to network through people to find individuals. And so when somebody's referring you a client, they're helping you, but they're also helping the client. And this person really wants to get a podcast. They have a lot of great things to say. They got this whole book. They really need what you do. And that's really the essence of networking. At that point, you're not having to sell somebody on a podcast. They know kind of what they need to do, or maybe they want to do it. It's really about, well, this is kind of what it costs, and this is how it all works. And if they can afford it, great. But those are the perfect situations to be in. You don't want to feel like you're selling ice cubes to Eskimos, right? I mean, it's
100%. And that's a really good point. And a great way to look at it is, as you're stepping into a situation, how do you endear yourself to people? How do you come across authentic? Well, be genuinely interested in what they do, number one. So find out what they do, be genuinely interested in that conversation, learn about them, be thinking of like, oh, this would be great for them. This person might be great for them to talk to. And then, like you said, the reciprocation. They're going to also want to know what you want to do. Yeah. And then you get a chance to talk about what you do. But opening that up with, if you get the chance to ask first, ask them what they do, go into what they're all about, and then you can share too. And it seems simple, but at the same time, these things can get complicated when you're talking to people and you're not prepared. I would say going into networking meetings too, be fully prepared. Have something you know you're going to say, the story you want to tell about your business, a question you can ask the person you're sitting down with. I mean, it's simple. That's sort of simple stuff, but having that mindset of, oh, I'm going to go in here. And if you have a mindset of walking into one of those events and you're just going to chit chat with people and you're not being intentional about educating people and also connecting people, you're not going to do it. But if you go in with a mindset of like, I'm going to make some connections today, might get some referrals today, but I'm also going to make sure I connect people together today. Yeah. How am I going to do that? Be intentional. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Don't work the room, work for the room. So as soon as you meet somebody, you have somebody you can introduce to somebody else, right? Hey, it's great meeting you. I see somebody over there. Do you know Steve? I want to introduce you to Steve, and then you're connecting them, and all of a sudden you've given them a connection. And then you go meet somebody else. It's, it just takes intentionality.
Yes. Yeah. It's intentionality. I'm always looking for nuggets and like themes in our episodes. That is a really great theme. Don't work the room, work for the room. Yeah. That's really good. That's really, really good. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to mention also, so you offer people this free journal. If they want to take this journey, they can go to the website right now, go to amspirit.com/blog for a free copy of the Giving Journal. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and there's a short little video to watch. It's a minute and 49 seconds. It's not real long. But just kind of the quick backstory, years ago, I was talking to somebody and they were talking about how generous they were. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yo, you're full of it. You're not generous, but in their mind, they were generous, right? Because they had done something. They pointed to something they did 3 months ago as evidence that they were generous. And I'm like, no, you're not generous. And I'm not going to challenge people. That was what I was thinking. But then I kind of had a heart to heart with myself, Rob. And I'm like, what's so great about me? Maybe I'm not generous. Maybe I'm just that person. We're all self-deluded. So what I did was I just took a journal, like a little, just spiral bound. And I just started writing when I did things for people, just to keep track of it. Okay. Today is, August 18th. I spent an hour mentoring, somebody on their resume, or I did this, or I served on this board. And so I would just start jotting things down. What I found was that journal would call to me. I haven't written anything into it in a day. This is horrible. And so by having that journal, it made me hyper aware of situations to do things for other people. Okay, I'm on a call here. Yeah, I have a business to grow and it'll work itself out. I know that, but what can I do to help them? I know all these people, I know they're looking to get on podcasts. Okay, let me think what they're about and maybe I can make an introduction or two. And so that's the essence of the Giving Journal is just, if you want to be more if you want to be more generous, then you just need to be more intentional about being generous. And so I wrote it, and just kind of my mindset, and there's a little bit of science in there, and just, whatnot. It's 50 pages, maybe. I don't know. I didn't want to sell it. Now, if somebody, you can download it, right? If you want to buy the physical copy, you can buy a physical copy. I've got a cost to that, right? But if you just want it, just go download. I don't even collect emails, right? I mean, I'm not building a list or anything like that. It's just, I want people to understand that they have all the tools they need to be successful. And it just starts by helping other people.
Yeah, where your attention goes, your energy flows, right? So if you're paying attention to how much you're helping other people, that's going to become a priority. You're going to see more of it. You're going to see more opportunities to help out. So being intentional about that, that's really good. I love that. A great way to also switch. And I think that's what you do. And this conversation is all about. It's about giving first and switching that idea of, okay, how am I focusing on? Am I focusing right now on getting, or am I focusing right now on giving? And changing that conception, going back to the beginning, or changing that misconception, going back to the beginning of this, that like I had. I was like, why would I want it? Why do I have to give value for me to get what I want? Right. Yeah. It's like the reciprocity, that reciprocal helping one another is everything. And we have to be aware of that. That has to be built into our lifestyle, if it's not already, for it to grow. So I think that's awesome, Frank. I love that. That's the Giving Journal, amspirit.com/blog. Make sure you go and get that for yourself today. And Frank, so I like to end these episodes with a question. Let's pretend that you and I are never going to talk or hear from each other again. Somebody who listens or watches, they may never hear from you ever again. What would be one lasting message that you'd like to leave them with that's going to help them throughout their life?
I get something similar to this all the time. And my question is pretty consistent. Find something that you're passionate about and go volunteer. Get yourself involved in your community. Maybe it's kids' sports. Maybe it's homelessness. Maybe it's pets. Don't be calculating like, oh, a lot of the executives go to this. No, what are you passionate about? Cancer charities. There's so much need in the world. Mm-hmm. Get out there and volunteer. Because when you volunteer, you're going to get yourself up out of your chair. And for a lot of people, that's the first step that they need to take, right? And you're not going to be alone. You're going to be elbow to elbow with other people who care about the same thing that you care about. And you don't have to pitch or promote yourself, because they'll know. What's this Rob Z about? I'm going to go look him up on LinkedIn, or I'm going to ask him. Or somebody else is going to find out and say, oh, he does this thing where he helps people get on podcasts, and really cool. You should listen to him. He's got a show, and the people who aren't even interested in what you're interested in, whatever it is, I did a lot in youth sports as my kids were younger. They see that you're involved, and even though they don't care about what you might care about, they see the passion you bring to that little corner of the world, and they just know that you're a good person. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice. Find something you're passionate about and get involved. Great advice. I love that. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, Frank. It's great to meet you. This is great information and something we all need, not just as business people, but as just people in general, to make sure you're giving first. That should be your main focal point. I love that. Thank you for being a part of the show today. Another true testimony of breakthrough. Until next time, this has been the Unstuck Movement.